Good to go.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Education Subcommittee of the House Ways and Means Committee. We're going to get started today. We have one bill on our agenda today, which is Senate Bill 785. It is an emergency bill. Alistair, can you walk us through this bill? I know we had the Senate. This is the Senate President's bill, and we had a public hearing on it a couple weeks ago. If we can just walk us through it slowly, and then just so everybody knows, Rachel's here to answer any questions that anyone may have too. And obviously Alistair is here to answer any questions. So Alistair, you want to help us out?
Corny jokes, answer questions. Yes, absolutely. So this bill relates to the State Board of Education, its membership and its duties, and a requirement that the Accountability and Implementation Board.
I'm sorry, Alistair,
Yeah.
I can barely hear you. Is that my computer or you?
No, it's definitely him. Yeah, we can't hear you, Alistair.
Okay, let me
It's like as soon as you started talking, the volume went down.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, excuse me.
oh no, I'm glad to hear that. Is this better?
Definitely. Yeah.
Significantly.
Okay, excellent. Sorry about that, guys. So this bill relates to the State Board of Education, its membership, its duties, its meetings, and also to the Accountability and Implementation Board created by the Blueprint for Maryland's Future. There's a study that they're required to do. So to begin with, there are certain things in this bill that relate to the membership of the Board of Education. To the extent practicable, the State Board will have to be appointed to reflect the racial, ethnic, cultural, and gender diversity of the state. And this is, if you have the reprint, this is on page 2 of the reprint. Additionally, on page 3 of the reprint, there are certain qualifications that members of the board will have to have going forward. They will have to have expertise and high level of knowledge in 8 different fields, collectively, not each person individually. Teaching or administering a public school, successful administration of a large business, nonprofit, or governmental entity, instructional programs and services for students with disabilities, instruction in English language learner courses or multilingual education, early childhood development and education, child psychology or child psychiatry, education policy or successfully leading educational reform efforts, and civil rights law, civil rights advocacy, or the use of anti-racism and equity principles, practices, and frameworks in the educational setting. Additionally, no more than 2 members can meet any of those qualifications in a bid to have the members of the board equally balanced. If you continue on to page 5 of the reprint, there are some new qualifications, new requirements for state board meetings. Under current law, the State Board of Education is only required to meet 4 times per year. This bill would require that they meet 12 times a year. Additionally, under current law, there's no specific standard for who will set the agenda for state board meetings. So there's an amendment here that requires that it be the state board president who may consult with the state superintendent of education. Currently, the state superintendent of education is listed as the chief executive, secretary, and treasury of the state board. There's an amendment here that removes the state superintendent from the secretary position and instead requires that the state board, when it elects its president and vice president in July, also select a secretary as one of its members. Additionally,
To the best of your ability, can you tell us where you are?
Yeah, that was on page 5 of the reprint in section 2204.
Thank you.
I'm moving on to the second part of page 5, which is a new section 2204.1. And this discusses the executive director position within the state board and gives the state board the sole authority to set the terms of employment for that person, including the hiring, firing, and establishing qualifications, duties, and compensation for that person. Additionally, here, the next section 2205F is just a conforming change because the state board is now electing its own secretary rather than using the state superintendent. It is going to be that person who administers oaths to witnesses who testify before the state board. Okay, on page, still on page 5, on the second part of page 5, in section 2, here we see the Accountability and Implementation Board's study that is required by this bill. In consultation with DLS, the AIB must investigate whether the State Department of Education, the Maryland Higher Education Commission, and the Maryland Department of Labor, and any other state governmental entities tasked with carrying out duties under the Blueprint for Maryland Future are have the capacity and capability to do their duties under that law. They must look at any guidelines or regulations or personnel resources they have or may need, and then make recommendations to the governor and state and General Assembly on December 15th of this year as a preliminary set of recommendations. And then if you scroll down to page 6 of the reprint, they must make their final recommendations by September 1st, 2022. On page 6 in section 3, this language makes the new membership terms staggered. So slowly over time, new members will be introduced to the state board who will meet those qualifications that we talked about earlier, meeting the having high level expertise in those fields and meeting the diversity of the state. And then in section 4, there's language that makes the the executive director position that must be wholly answerable to the state board. It makes that apply to the next time that that position is vacant. So currently that person is answerable to the state board and state superintendent, as all employees within the State Department of Education are. But beginning with the next vacancy in that position, they will be answerable solely to the state board. And then finally, section 5 makes this an emergency act.
All right, any questions? Okay, Delegate Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So going back to the executive director, it says, so this is a new position?
It is an established position, but it has never been established in code. So in order to affect it, we need to first state that it exists in code and then deal with it.
Is there somebody doing this job now?
Yes, there is.
And how much do they get paid now?
I don't know the state. Rachel might be able to help with this, but I know I think they're level 26 on the state compensation level listing. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but.
Because it looks like in this bill, the way it's reading in that section is that the board is going to come up with a salary. And it's not outlined. You know, I have concerns with something being so open-ended that we're putting into law. So that's just my comment there.
And it is for, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it just says that they get to set the salary, or right? That's it, right? Like they're not saying that they can decrease. I mean, yeah, it just says that they set the salary. Any other questions, Delegate Rose? Any follow-ups?
No, I have some concerns, but I'll just vote my conscience on it. Thank you.
I think the feeling is that the executive director is really working for the state board, Delegate Rose, and therefore they should be the ones to be fully in charge of that person. But yeah.
It sounds like we're trying to create some independence of the superintendent and the state board. Is that correct?
Yeah, with respect to this position, I would say that's
correct. Yeah.
I just have one quick follow-up.
Sure.
My other concern is when you go back, I forget what page, I think it was page 2 or 3. That no more, so you have the list of the people that would be qualified, but no more than 2 in one particular area. And I just, you know, I think this is an important board, and I think that we should be trying to get the best. And I know you're trying to get a broad section of qualified people, but you know, it's just too prescriptive for me. I think we should be casting a bigger net and trying to get the most qualified people. So that's just my only other comment.
Okay. Any other questions? So let me ask you a question. This is on bill page 5, on the second page of bill page 5. It says compensation due the county executive, the executive director. I should say compensation due to the executive director.
Yeah, I believe that's, I apologize.
That's
I think
that's an older view.
I think, yeah, that's an old version of the reprint.
Got it.
So-
Okay, cool. Yeah, I got the original one. All right, Delegate Ebersol.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm following up on Delegate Rosa's question. There are 8 qualifications. So if we had 2 people who are already child psychologists, for example, then no other person could be, it was saying, I'm just making sure I got it clear. We couldn't, no third person with that credential could be appointed to the board. Is that correct?
No 2 members qualified through that particular field. You could potentially have someone who's a child psychologist who also has expertise in the instruction of English language learning courses or any of the other criteria.
So in other words, it couldn't be 3 who that was their sole criterion among those 8.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. That helps a lot. I appreciate the clarification.
Delegate Hornberger.
Yeah, are these folks still subject to Senate confirmation?
I don't think so. But
Wait, are the board members subject to? Yes, they are.
oh, they are? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so governor is going to recommend these folks based on the criteria. So is the Senate the arbiter of the criteria?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, I think
Okay.
the same thing. You've similar qualifications for the state superintendent herself. You also for the accountability and implementation board people, and in all those cases, it's people selected either by the governor or nominating committee and approved by the Senate.
And this isn't unique because, I mean, we do have a lot, there's other local boards that also has a requirement that when they're appointed, they have certain qualifications that they need to meet.
Yeah, I want to know the grounds for the, not dismissal, but I guess non-confirmation or non-approval. So in other words, I recommend someone and I think they're qualified based on the criteria, be racial, what have you. And then the Senate can say, well, no, they don't meet that criteria. It's not on their experience or anything like that. It's how we interpret the statute.
Yeah, no, it's definitely up to them. I mean, advice and consent, right? So they just want to approve them or not. Delegate Ebersol.
Yeah, thank you again. So this applies to a lot of members who are appointed by the governor. We now know there's one member who is technically appointed by the governor, but not selected by the governor to be to that appointment. So is this all notwithstanding the students' credentials, which they may have? Is that all? Are they just kind of drawn out of all those requirements?
Yeah, this doesn't apply to the student member, the teacher member, or the parent member.
All 3. Okay, good. I really should have said all 3. Sorry about that. Thanks for getting me on track there.
Yes, okay. Cool. Delegate Guyton.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Thank you for bringing this bill. I would have loved to have seen this a little bit earlier because I would have had a few more things to add from my experience on the state board. One of the things that come to my mind, though, that I've seen as an issue or considered to be an issue with the appointment of the state board members, and this may be addressed in this bill. So my question is this addressed in this bill? Is that at least in my tenure, there were several board members who were nominated to the board after, April, after May, went onto the board for 8 or 9 months, made votes that maybe weren't so popular, and then withdrew their names before they could be confirmed by the Senate because they knew that they probably would not be. And that's my assumption. So because it was possible that they would not be confirmed by the Senate. That was a real concern for me when I was in that position, that there were folks like put there for short periods of time to make certain decisions and then withdrawn. Is there anything in this bill that could help protect against that? I mean, if I were to make an amendment, which I'm just throwing this out there right now because I don't want to put this whole thing way behind because we could bring it back next year too. I would say that a board member should not be able to vote unless they're actually confirmed by the Senate.
Rachel, you want to answer that?
Yeah, yes, that's an excellent question, Delegate Guyton. And on page 2 of the bill in line 17 through 19, it says that on or before January 1st of the year in which there's going to be a vacancy, that the governor has to make the appointment for that exact reason, so that the members would be, now it won't work for this July, but after that, then the cycle will work that the governor has to make the appointments by January 1st, so that the Senate will consent or not before they actually go on to the board.
How does that affect a resignation? So if someone resigns in February,
It wouldn't affect vacancies. It would, I think it would just be for new, because it's the way it's drafted, it's for appointment of a new member or reappointment, but it wouldn't affect, unexpected vacancies.
Does that answer your concern?
it does answer my question. I wish it did, but I recognize that we have a very short time period today to fix it. And it may be something that we could discuss in the future.
Got it. Okay. Any other concerns? Any other questions? Also, I do have a question. I think you said they're now required to meet 12 times a year instead of the 3 times per year. In the bill, does it say 11 in the bill?
There's a July meeting that has to take place because that's when they vote to elect their secretary and president and vice president, and then 11 other times, which might be, hopefully that's roughly once a month, but it could sometimes be like 2 times in November or something if they're trying to avoid Christmas.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, any other questions on this bill? All right, we have this amendment that we're adding to the bill, which Alistair went over. Do I have a motion on the amendment?
Moved.
Second.
Favorable.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All opposed? Delegate Rose. All right. On the
Delegate Hartman. as well.
Hartman's got his hand.
Delegate Hartman, sorry. Delegate Hartman, you're so far away, man. I can't see.
Man, you're down low in there, man. Sit up in your chair, man.
On the bill as amended. Do I hear a motion?
Move favorable, please.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Rose, Hornberger, Hartman. I see you now, Delegate Hartman.
Stay back. It's better that way.
All right, great, guys. See you in 7 minutes or